Yasmat jatam jagat sarvam yasmin yeva praliyate yenedam dharyate chaiva tasmai jnanatmane namaha. Ishvaro gururatmeti murti beda vibhagine vyomavat vyapta dehaya Dakshinamurtaye namaha. Taittiriya Upanishad mayacharya prasadataha vispashtartaruchinam hi vyakyeyam sampraniyate. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinabadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om Brahmavida apnoti param tadesha bhyukta satyam jnanamanantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam paramevyo so oshnute sarvan kamaan saha brahmana vipaschiteti tasmadva yetasmadatmana akashas sambhutah akashat vayuhu vayoragnihi agnerapah adbhyah prithvi prithivya oshadhayah oshadibhyonnam annat purushah sava yesha purushonnarasamayah tasyedameva shirah ayam dakshinah pakshah ayam uttarah pakshah ayamatma idam puchcham pratishta tadapyesha shloko bhavati. So this is the first Anuvaka. We are still in the first line because Brahmavid apnoti param is the entire Upanishad. So we will have to spend a lot of time on that. Then the three sentences which explain it are also so profound, we have to spend a lot of time. So last week we just saw Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That's all we saw in terms of the definition of Brahman. So today we will continue. So before that I want to share some of the things which I have been reading. Shankara's Bhashya particularly it's a very very elaborate Bhashya. Not that I understand most of it, I understand some of it. But whatever I understand, I won't share with you because I always thought Shankaracharya was a psychologist. Now I find he is a great linguist also. He teaches us language also. If you recall, last time I mentioned, he said what is an adjective. He actually told us what is an adjective. We thought adjective actually describes a noun. He said that's not like that. Adjective also depends on the noun. So I used the word big. I said big ant is different from a big mountain. The word big itself now has a different meaning depending upon the noun. He says something which is even more profound. Now he says, you know why adjectives are used? He says adjectives are used for two reasons. Okay, he's correct. The English, the Sanskrit he says is Yadihi anekani dravyani ekajatiyani. One way to use an adjective is to separate out one element from a class. Anekani jatiyani eka. You take one out of the class, you have to use adjective. He is a bright person. So now there is a group of person from whom you pick out somebody. He is tall. So we always thought adjective was like that. He gives an example, Nilotpalam or Mahat Sugandhi Utpalam. So lily which is blue, because there can be a red lily also. So he says, we think adjective is like that. Here Brahman is being told, and the adjectives for Brahman are Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So he explains there are two ways to use adjective. This is a knowledge for language. I now understand a little language through this. Then the question will come, are there so many Brahman? So he says that's not the use of adjective. There is another use to adjective, to describe the Swarupa or the Lakshana. So Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam are adjectives, but it doesn't separate one Brahman from another Brahman, or it doesn't separate 10 Brahmans out of which one Brahman is separated, like Nilotpalam and so on. So he says adjective has two uses. One is to stand out from a class, other is for Swarupa Nirdeshana. Lakshana, Lakshanartha. So this is a new idea in language. Why do you use adjectives? Sometimes to establish a Lakshana. So that's how he says this is coming here. Otherwise, I may find it difficult to explain and all that. There is another thought which was running in my mind. See, there are these words Sat, Satyam, Asat, then there is a Mithya. All these you have to understand properly. They all connotate different things. So Mithya I will leave it now. Mithya it's a deep. Maybe later if it comes we will. So now there is a Sat, Satyam, Asat. What is the difference between these? Are they equivalent or are they not? This is something which we have to understand, because at this level of depth we have to understand the differences. Sat is existence. Sat means existence. Because I remember, if you remember, I gave two definitions for Brahman, for Satyam. I said Sat is one definition for Satyam. Existence is Satya. Then I said that which doesn't change. That is also the definition for Satyam. Now look at this. You take a clay pot or a wooden table. Okay? Now the table is Sat. It exists. There is something called table, or something called a bangle, or a necklace made of gold. That is Sat. Existence. Now what you can do is you can actually destroy that bangle and melt the gold. Melt the bangle. Now the bangle has become Asat now. It doesn't exist. Bangle doesn't exist anymore. It has become gold now. Or you take this mud pot and break it, put it in a water, it becomes clay. Correct? So both the definitions exist there. Now clay is Satyam, because clay will never change. You make anything out of clay, clay maintains its clayness. Correct? So that is one definition of Satyam. That which doesn't change comes from there. Another definition of Satyam is, when there is a pot, there is a truth that there is a pot. It's called Sat. Sat is existence. So Sat can become Asat. But the substratum for Sat and Asat is a Satyam. Because the changing shapes and changing things can make something Sat and Asat. But the bedrock of that is Satyam. The clay on the surface looks like you can pull all the thread from this shirt, convert everything to cotton. Cotton is Satyam. Shirt is Sat at one level. When you pulled all the thread out of the shirt, it is Asat. There is nothing there. So these are slight technical differences. The point is that there is a partness. Partness exists. It may be a Sat or Asat, but the fact that there is something called partness cannot be taken away. Is it not? There is something called a partness. So partness is Satyam, but a form of part can be Sat, which is existence. It can break, it can become Asat, which means it returns to a fundamental principle of Satyam, which is deeper. So Satyam is more deeper than Sat. So these kinds of things are there. Otherwise people, little bit analogically we using these terms. There are minor differences between this. One is Karya and another is Karana. The clay is the Karana. All names and shapes which comes out of the clay is Karya. It is a manifestation of a clay in a particular form. Manifestation of a wood in a particular form. Manifestation of the gold in some form. They are all Karya. So Karya will have Sat and Asat. Karana will be Satyam. Because that is the bedrock of it supplies that existence. So those kinds of things are there. I thought I will just, these thoughts are running in my mind because somewhere we may read Sat, because in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2 there is a shloka. Nasato vidyate bhavaha na bhavo vidyate sataha ubayorapi dishtantaha anayotu tattvadarshibhihi. There is one shloka. That the shloka very nicely says, if there is asat, there will be no bhava. If there is no part, where is the partness? What is the bhava? Bhava is that property, that attribute, that whatever related to that. So Krishna says, if there is no sat, there will be no bhava. Na asato, bhava, that's what he says. Na abhava, he actually told the other way. In that shloka, he told the other way. If something exists, then there must be sat. If something does not exist, it cannot have sat. That is how he argued. So these words are used a little bit in different ways. I thought I will just share it. Anyway, coming back. So the Tadesha Bhyukta is the reference of the Rigveda mantra. So the Shruti takes 3 sentences from Rigveda and tries to explain Brahmavit apnoti param, that idea. We saw Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Now we will see the next. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. Yo Veda, that person who knows, indeed knows this, right? Because we had 3 questions. The other 2 questions are, how do you know Brahman? What happens when you know Brahman? What is Brahman? That is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The second sentence says, what is the process of knowing? That is told like this: Yo Veda Brahma, one who knows Brahman, gets to know the Brahman. How? Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. So the process of knowing Brahman is to see it in the cave of the heart. Nihitam Guhayam, which is also Parame Vyoman. It is present everywhere. It is present in the cave of the heart. That is what it says. Now this is a very, very often quoted expression. This heart. If you take English, there is this heart has a certain meaning. As I told in one of the earlier sessions also, heart is not this lubbed up equipment. Heart actually is the epicenter of every Vyaktitva. When you say heart, it is actually the epicenter of an individual. That is why in any language, I told this, any language, any country, anywhere, any demographics, moment they say I, their hand goes like this. You have to ask why. When you refer to yourself, your hand does not go anywhere. Actually, one can use a shortest path algorithm and then touch somewhere closer. No. Hand comes here. We put our hand here. That is what it is talking. So the epicenter of a Vyaktitva is in a place called heart. Heart is an approximate reference. That is what this mantra is saying. You can realize Brahman inside. You have to realize Brahman in your epicenter of your existence. That is what it is actually trying to communicate. But it also says that Brahman is present everywhere. That's what it is saying. This idea has been greatly expressed. I will take quotes from all other Upanishads. There are many Upanishads. The Upanishads are all saying it from different angles. So I will try to bring as many from other Upanishads also. This is in Chandogya. So what it says, Yadvaitad Brahmam idam vava tat yo ayam bahirda purushad akasho yo vaisa bahirda purushad akasha. That which is outside of the Purushad's akasha is actually that. That indeed is the Brahman. One has to know that. That is first sentence that says. Second says, Ayam Baba, indeed verily that. Ayam Baba says, so I am Antaha Purushaha Akashaha, Yo Vaiso Antaha Purushaha Akashaha. That inner space that you see in every Vyakti, he is indeed there. Verily he exists there. That is the second sentence. Third sentence says, Ayam Baba, so I am Antarhridayaha. So it is not just the inside space, it is inside that, Hridaya Kuhare, inside that cave. It goes to the third level. It says, Antarhrideha akashaha tad etat purnam apravarti. It is embodiment of fullness. It is something which is not something dispensable or which goes through all kinds of vyavaharas and all that. It's apravarti, right? Doesn't go through changes. It is indestructible. All that you can take. And then he says, Ya evam veda, that is coming at the end of the shloka, Ya evam veda, what will happen to that person? It says Purnam Shriyam Labate. He will get Shreyas, Shriyam. That Shriyam is what? It is Purna, it is Apravartini. So the same adjective is taken. Same thing is taken, that who knows that in the innermost cave, realize that, will actually get that glory of Purnatva and a state of Apravartini. It doesn't go through any vyavahara, doesn't go through change and so on. That's what Chandogya is saying in terms of talking the same idea in a slightly different way. So this heart, as I told you, first of all, it is the epicenter of every one of us. How do you know? Because when people go into samadhi, or when people go into dreamless deep sleep, Sushupti, that's called Sushupti. Sushupti is a stage. God has been so kind to us. Every day He tells us there is a state. If you get into it, if you get into that state, it will actually relieve you of all your strains, all your thought processes, everything, and it will bring you to pristine beauty of that happiness. That's what happens to a person who had 2 hours of deep sleep. You rise after the deep sleep, you rise from a complete state of tranquility. So God has shown us on a daily basis. We don't want to see it. I was hearing some pravachana in which this person was saying that he was giving pravachana. There was one person who was there. Then one day he called him buffalo. He called buffalo. Then this person took a serious exception to his calling. He said, for the last 100 days I am telling you are Atman, you never turned back. This is what I was shouting. For the last 100 days, again and again, you are the Atman, you are the Atman, you never turn back. Moment I say buffalo, you turn back. So like that, God has telling us every day, there is a state which is absolute tranquility and peace. And that happens in your epicenter. Yet we dismiss it. We get back and get too engaged in our worldly things that we keep it aside. But that is the epicenter. That is called heart. So when people go into samadhi, apparently, definitely when they go into sushupti, this Vyaktitva goes and resides there. It gets connected with that. That is where the Brahman is. That's why it is an embodiment of tranquility and peace. That is what it is. That is why heart is a very, very important reference. It's not this pathological device called heart. It is an approximate reference to the epicenter where the mind, buddhi, ahankara, everything goes and resides in sushupti. So the question is, when we have woken up, can we go there? That is samadhi. So that's how it is being talked about. Look at Narayana Suktam. Again it comes the same way. Many of us know this Suktam. He says, Anantam abhyayam kavigum samudrentam vishvashambhuvam padmaghosha pritikashagam hridayam chap adhomukam. It is inverted. Face is downward, facing downward. Adaha is down, mukam is face. So it is facing downward. It's an inverted lotus. That is what it is saying. Nabhyam upari tishtati. It gives an approximate point, a certain inch from the nabi, from the navel. That's what Narayana Suktam says. Anantam, endless, limitless, avyayam, which it is indestructible, indestroyable and so on. Kavim, omniscient. Okay? Samudre antam, it resides into that ocean of, it all ends into that great ocean of joy and happiness. Right? Vishvashambhuvam, the cause of the everything. Right? And it is like a flower. That place is described. It is an inverted flower. Right? Padma koshaham pratikasham. It's all radiant flower, which is inverted. And adhomukam. That's why it is inverted. That's what it says. Inverted bud of lotus. And then the next line says, Ado nishto vidasyante nabhyam uparitishati. It goes on. So this reference is there in many places. I just pulled it from Narayana Sukta. Because many seem to be aware of this. So in Shivananda Lagari, Shankaracharya has a beautiful shloka which he puts it in his own ways because it is a stotra. So you have to come with that. It's not a Vedanta text per se. So Shivananda, the greatness of Shivananda Lagari is, out of 100 shlokas, I think a good 40 or 50 shlokas are with double meaning. There is a description of something which actually means two things. That is, it's like a kavya actually. So here, let us see what he is saying. He is a 44th shloka. He says, Karalagna mrigaha karindra bangaha Gana shardula vikantanaha astu jantuhu Vikantanosta jantuhu Girishaha Vishad akritischa Chetak kuhare panchamukosti me kutobihi. He says, in my Chetak kuhara, there is a 5-headed sitting. Where is my fear? There is no cause for my fear. That's what first he says. Chetak kuhare panchamukosti me kutobihi. Why am I afraid? I have located something sitting in my... And he is describing what is that. And this is a description for both Shiva and a lion. Lion sits in a cave. This is all the descriptions fit for a lion. Because Vishad Akriti, it's a white skin. White complexioned or white skin. A lion is white skinned actually. Vishad Akriti. Girisha, lord of the mountains or residing in the mountains. So generally forest areas is where lion is. Whereas Shiva, Parameshwara is also Girisha. Right? Karalagna mrigaha karindra bangaha. A lion can hunt a deer and a elephant and Gana shardulaha, the Vyagra, leopard, and so many other jantus. In fact, in Shiva Purana you will find he has actually Gajamukashvara, this Mrigashvara, all these are all again also pointing to Shiva. He has killed all these Asuras, that is what is. So anyway, the point here is, he is talking about the Chetak Kuhara. That cave in the heart where Shiva is actually Satyojata the Panchamukha. The five-headed face, Satyojatam, Tatpurusham, Agoram. We normally do that in Rudra, so that's what Panchamukha. So that is what is being talked about, but it also talks about a lion. But anyway, the point he says, he again points to the Chetak Kuhare. So the cave of the heart is a very frequent reference, and in Yoga Shastra, everywhere you will find that is the epicenter of the Vyaktitva. If we are able to connect to that, in fact, yoga, that is called yoga. Yoga is actually from the Sanskrit dhatu yui. Leave the termination, that is for swara and whether it is ubhayapada, we leave it. It is from yu. Yu means to connect. The Sanskrit dhatu yu, yunjate. Yu is to connect. Okay? Now, actually the word yoke also has come from there. Yoke is the one which connects. Two compartments are connected with the yoke, the engineering principle of yoke. So yug comes from you. Yoga is connected. Connect with what? Connecting with the epicenter. You can say dhyana yoga, karma yoga, all that you can say. At the end of the day, a yogi must be able to connect to his epicenter. That is the idea there. You should be able to connect to your epicenter of your Vyaktitva, where this Brahman will be located finally, and we will see it. That is the idea from which yoga is also coming. So that is the true meaning of yoga, is to get connected with that. And that is sitting here. That is the idea. So shrute sarvan kaman. The next sentence says, so contemplate it inside. If you contemplate and locate it inside, you have known Brahman. It says as simple as that. It's very simply, it says in one sentence like that. Now the process of it, how much time, is a thing which we need to really talk about. Then the third sentence says, what happens if we located that epicenter and connected with that? Then it says, Saha Ashnute Sarvan Kaman Saha Brahmana Vipaschitaha. Iti is the end of the quote for the Rigveda mantra, which is being quoted here. So, saha ashnute, he consumes, he partakes, he enjoys. Whatever ashna is eating. So eating is not in a figurative sense, but it means you enjoy, you consume, you partake, go through and be part, all that. Sarvan kaman saha. It says that you will enjoy everything. It is not in Adi Shankara and his commentary says it is not sequentially one after the other. It is not like that. In one shot simultaneously you would reach an experience of having enjoyed everything that you can think of in one shot, because you become Brahman. And that Ananta Bhava which will give, that you acquire, will show Anantatva in everything. So that is why so Shnute Sarvan Kaman Saha, that's what it says. Different Upanishads conveys it slightly differently. So I will take Aranyaka Upanishad, how it articulates this idea, it reasons it slightly differently. This is a nice passage in Aranyaka Upanishad. He says, Ata akamayamanaha yaha akamaha nishkamaha bhavati aptakamaha atmakamaha na tasya prana utkramanti brahmaiva sat brahmapyeti. There is a nice powerful usage of the words. He says what happens to the person, how he becomes enjoys everything, how he becomes enjoyer of everything. He says something happens to him. It's a psychological process. Please understand, enjoying is not a physiological process. That's what Yayati found in the hardest way. Enjoying and being satisfied cannot be done with the indriyas and stula sharira. That's what we think. It cannot. It can only add more and more oil to the fire. Yayati, after 1,000 years, he came to the conclusion. Mahabharata starts with that. No. Enjoyment is a state of mind. In fact, not enjoyment. Everything is a state of mind. Satisfaction is a state of mind. Enjoyment is a state of mind. Immortality is a state of mind. Immortality is not what they show in the movie, where time passes by, your beard goes longer. No. Parikshit got immortality in 7 days. Death and all immaterial. They are all happening to a stula sharira. It is not for the dehi, it is for the deha. So immortality is a state of mind. Enjoyment is a state of mind. So this describes what state of mind will get you there. In fact, in this Brahmananadavalli, there is a Brahmananda Mimamsa. So, Shrotriyasya chakamahatasya teyeshatam manusha anandah sayesha gandharvanam anandah Shrotriyasya chakamahatasya. It says, Shrotriyaha cha akamahatasya. That is what is coming here in Aranyaka Upanishad also. What is it saying? It's saying that for him who is with akamayamanaha, this desire is just a state of mind. It is not reality. Desire is a state of mind. As long as you manage that state of mind, it parks it somewhere in this continuum of the desire and satisfaction. So akamayamanaha yaha akamaha bhavati. He becomes nishkama. He is without kama. This whole paradigm of kama is not in his domain of cognitive mapping at all. This notion of desire is not in his mapping. If it is not in his mapping, all associated with that you have to delete now. Because if I am a nishkama, then all this vocabulary, all are not there. So nishkamaha bhavati, then with that state, where does he go? He becomes aptakamaha. Apta is achieved or attained. So with this state of mind, he reaches a state of mind, he achieved everything. That is called aptakama. Apta is attained or reached. So by a state of desirelessness, which means that part is sorted out. He or she is sorted out. Once you sort out that, you become aptakama actually. Because these are no longer coming in your way. You will continue to do work, but they are not going to come in your way. Such a person is a aptakama. Then aptakama, he says, you see how beautifully the Shruti says, aptakama after some time becomes atmakama. Now he will start looking inside. The looking inside comes only through this route. The distractions have to be taken out. Once you take the distraction, the mind will turn. Avritta chakshuhu amritatvam ichan. Last time I showed that Kathopanishad, Paranchikani Venurzat, I gave that. Because the frills are all outside, everybody was looking at. But Avrita Chakshuhu, Amrutatvam Ichon, he turned his attention in. That will come only when this happens. So he becomes consumer of everything means the effect of consuming all that I have sorted out. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, there is a 22nd shloka in chapter 3. In that he says, Mayi Partha Trishu Lokeshu Kanchana, some shloka is there. He says, Na anavaptam avaptavyam mayi vartmani, karma. He says, I will continue to work. Trishu Lokeshu Kanchana, some shloka is there. It is not just coming to my mind immediately. What he is saying is, I have nothing to achieve. I have become an aptakama because na anavaptam. If you ask, is there a pending list? I don't have. And then avaptavyam, is there a future wish list? That also is not there. Still I will work. That's what he says. Sir, what is that shloka? Karmani, before the first line? Name partasti kartavyam trishilokeshu kinchana na anavaptam avaptavyam vartayevatu karmani. Still I will work. So an apta kama and atma kama will not go away from work. What will go away is all work related problems, all impressions and create, the sukha and dukkha and all that will go away. He will continue to work. That's why these great sages were all very active. But they were apta kamas, therefore they became atma kamas. Atma Rama bhavati. Atma kama is one who becomes Atma Rama. He revels in his own self, which means he is heading towards the epicenter now. So that is what this Upanishad is saying. And here is Tasya Pranaha. Pranaha itukte Pancha Pranaha, Pancha Indriyaha. Basically it means the Indriyas now will not go out. It will not waste its time. Guna Guneshu Vartente iti Martva Dharayan. What Bhagavad Gita Krishna says. He will leave all the Indriyas and the Gunas, let it all do whatever it wants to do. Let me do what I want to do. As though he is separate from that. That kind of a psychological state they will come. That's why it says, Tasya pranaha na utkramanti. They don't step out. Because he has become Atma Kama now. Then Brahmaiva Sat. He becomes Brahman itself. So this explains that. So Shrute Sarvan Kaman is explained here. If you connect these two, you'll understand, because each Upanishad tells it in a different way. Some of them tell it cryptically, some of them use some other example. So that's what comes here.
When they read this state, this Deha Prajna totally goes away.
Sir, my reading is, it is something like this. Let us say there is a machine, which ECG machine, let us say. Okay? So you connect the wires to me, there are things coming. You see all these sinusoidal curves coming. Suppose if the machine is connected to a processor, the processor now processes and says there is a heart problem and so on. To me, what I see if this happens is, while the reading will come, the connection will be cut. Which means this frills will pick up all the signals and process. Signal will not go in and you will not process. The problem is we process inside. Moment we process inside, sukha, dukkha, all kinds of things come in. So I have a feeling people who are here will be in the vyavahara. They will be very active, but it will not affect them. The signal does not go in and then you don't process it. Because you destroy the ahankara, you destroy the manas, you put them all away. So therefore it will do vyavahara, but it will not pass inside. Which means two persons who is like that and me, on the outside they will look similar, because both the sinusoidal, there are two terminals, both of them are having sinusoidal waves. Second terminal we have cut. It's not getting processed inside.
In the life of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, there is a stage where for about 6 months or something like that, he is in total Advaita Bhava. And when he is in Advaita Bhava, he is Deha Prajna is just not there. That means he doesn't, whether he eats or whether he not.
It doesn't affect them at all.
It doesn't affect them at all. So whenever there is a bhajan or a song, he used to go to the samadhi.
Yes.
So that means he used to totally lose control of the Sharira Prajna.
The kshetra. The kshetra is disowned actually. Ramana Maharishi, same thing. He said, no anesthesia, I do what on. I mean, it's very difficult to say that. Concept, knowledge is one, anubhava. This anubhava is different. See, we can read all that and understand Deha is, Kshetra is different from Kshetrajna. But Kshetra is different from Kshetrajna, and knowledge is okay, it's only step one. There are people who were able to, in Vyavahara, they are able to show that meaning of that statement. By saying you do whatever you want to do. Sarkoma was there and he said you do whatever you want to do. Nothing belongs to me. I am not able to imagine such a possibility. We are still, that's why in chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked, should we do Saguna Upasa or Nirguna Upasa? Kleshaha adhikataraha tesham. That's what he says. 4th shloka in chapter 13, that shloka is like that. Klesho adhikatara tesham abhyakta sakta chetasam abhyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhi ajayate. Worldly, bodily conscious people should not do Nirguna Upasana. You are not ready. He says your path is full of dukkha. So once they are there, they have operated as two different layers. That's the anubhava. We are at a knowledge level. And more of this knowledge is not futile. I think more and more of this knowledge will, with the grace of the Lord, we will also get our anubhava one day, 100%. Maybe sometime later, but that's okay. So with that, the Rigveda mantra is over in the first Anuvaka. Now what the Upanishad is doing is, as I told you, so Brahmavit apnoti param is a sutra. There are 3 sentences which in a way little bit explained it. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam soshnite sarvan kaman saha brahmana vipaschitaha iti. Just some little bit of explanation. But these 3 sentences and the Brahmavit apnoti param is what is being expanded in the rest of Brahmananadavalli. In a very systematic way, in a little more detail. So the first thing that Shruti does in Anuvaka 1, Taittiriya Upanishad Brahmananadavalli, it establishes the Jiva Jagat Ishvara Sambandha, because that is the subject matter in all Upanishads. I've been saying that. So somewhere it wants to put the hook onto it, and through that show the Anantatva of, it said Anantam, no? After all, Brahman is Anantam. So it should be here. It should be here. So that has to be now expressed. It starts with that argument. So it talks about the origin of the universe. Somewhere, again, all the 10 major Upanishads I find, there is, I see in Mundaka Upanishad, Aranyaka, I see in Taittiriya, I think I see in Prashna. In all the Upanishads, the origin of the universe is there. It comes in a different way. Nasadiya Suktam has it in a different way. So here it now gets into the origin of the universe. It takes it in a particular direction. So we will see what it says. So this is how it goes. It says, Tasmad va yetasmad atmana akasha sambhutah. First it says Tasmat va yetasmat atmanah. So there are 3 words it has put. It says Tasmat, from that. Then it says Etasmat. In Sanskrit, you can actually, Sanskrit is such a beautiful language. He, she, it, there are 4 ways to say. This is a nice thing about Sanskrit, right? There are 4 ways to say he. You can say Asau Aditya Brahma. Asau is one way. Asau is something which you can see but you can't talk. That is Asau. But before that, Saha. Saha is you are in Chennai. I can't see you. You are not even in my line of sight. If I have to say, I have to use Saha. He is in Chennai. He is in San Francisco. I will use Saha. But things which I can see, I will use Asau. It is the second usage. Third usage is Etat. Etat is in a calling distance. Whoever is in the room, I can say Eta, Yeshaha, Yesha, Etat, whatever. Tat. Etat is if I am at a touching distance. If I can put my hand around, you are so close. It is Etat, Yeshaha. Saha, Yeshaha, Right? I am, sorry, that's a Saha I already said. So etat is within the, calling distance. Then I am, iyam, idam. That is very near to you. Like this. So here it uses two out of that. Look at here, tasmat. The tasmat is at a farther distance. Paroksha, not aparoksha. It is farther. Then it says etasmat. It says it is also closer to you. Atmanah. So it says from that, from here, from your Atman. So like that it is first connecting these three. It says all the three it uses. It wants you to start thinking about this possibility. Tasmatva, etasmatva, atmanahava. All the three. That's how it starts. From this started this whole creation process. Akashaha sambhutaha. First Akasha started. Akashaha sambhutaha. First it says the space came. Okay. The most convincing, the most immediate way to understand Ananta is Akasha. I don't know where Akasha begins and where it ends. So we said Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, and it is also Sat, it exists to us. In some ways the space exists. Correct? So it starts there. It is Anantatvat, Satyatvat. Both are there. So it says from that entity called Brahman, first it generated Akash, which is space. Okay? Then it said Akashad Vayuhu. Then it said from the space it created Vayu, the air or gaseous system, whatever you want to say. We'll come to it in some detail. It's a good science. I find every new planet, this is the order in which they are checking. I don't know whether they know Taittiriya Upanishad or not. This is exactly the order in which they go to Mars, they go to wherever. This is the order. First they investigate the space. I will come to it later. Science part will come to it later. So he says Akashat Vayu. Vayoho Agnihi. I mean, again chemistry says without gas you don't have fire. Oxygen, nitrogen, some carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, whole thing will come in now. They are all gaseous system and they all are in space. So Vayoho Agnihi, out of Vayu it created Agni. Out of Agni it created Apaha, water. Right? And that's also very commonsensical. Without Agni you will not get water. If 3 years consecutively there is no summer, 4th year no water. Because this water will not evaporate and condense. It's a nice condensation evaporation cycle through which the water is being circulated in the system. If you take out fire, that's the end of the story. You will use the groundwater and whatever and all that, and after that it will not be supplied. Somewhere the water and the fire are related. Right? If you don't like that, go near, those days cooking were done with firewood. You go near the firewood, stand for 10 minutes and come, you will have a lot of water on your forehead. So fire will always bring water out. Whichever way you see, fire will bring water out. In the form of sweat, kamsikam. So that's what it says. Agnehe apaha. Abhyah prithvi. From the water came the Prithvi. Prithvi is this entire solid material, solid state systems. In other words, what it says is, it also says chemistry. First existence is gas. From there, if you can bring the molecules closer, it will become liquid. If you can bring the molecules even closer, it will become solid. It's material science. That is also there. And if you keep doing something about the solid, it will first become, some of them sublimate, but the point is it will become liquid and then it will become gas. So that's why those orders are anyway there. So these are all also pointing to that possibilities also. It says, but there are other possibilities, not just this. Okay? Then it says, Adbhya Prithvi, Prithivyaha Oshadayaha. The whole Oshadi Vanaspati came only, this Mother Earth gives in bounty. If you have an iota of doubt, I must give you a Harvard Business Review article, which, I give it in one of my courses I give actually, where they talked about, they wanted to create another Earth kind of a dome. They call it as Biosphere 2 project. spent about $300 million and so on. 8 people could not stay there beyond 4 hours or something. They came out. Almost they will die because it could not generate anything. This earth is ceaselessly generating everything for you. It generates minerals, it generates gases, it generates food, it generates... we are so thankless we don't even think about it at times. They created a Biosphere 2 project. And a $300 million project, 2.3 acre glass cabin, in which they tried. See, Western society is playing with science. No, anyway, some of them are useful, some of them are not. So they tried. They found beyond 4 hours or something, more than 4 people could not be there. They have to come out because nobody can match Mother Earth. That's what it is saying. Prithvivyam oshadeya, oshadi vanaspateya. Prithvivyam oshadeya, oshadibhyonnam. Food comes only from the plant kingdom. Don't have an iota of doubt. There is no other source of food. If somebody says, sir, I eat 3 times non-veg, the non-veg that you eat require in the food cycle, all of them end only with plant. Because the non-veg that you eat will eat a veg only. Or it will eat another non-veg, that in turn will eat a veg. Food cycle starts only with the plant kingdom. Let us not have an iota of doubt on that. You do whatever you do, finally it starts. That is what this Upanishad is also saying. It is also telling us be a vegetarian also. In a way. Therefore. So it's if you... Why am I saying you should be a vegetarian? You take a raw wheat, nothing like you process and eat it. Eating processed food is not good. So a non-veg is a processed food already. So you reprocess it again. Anyway, that's on the side. But what I am saying is Oshadibhyonnam and Annat Purushaha. Oh, this is not just science. I was trying to explain science through this shloka. Our thing is not that. In Tattva Bodha you should see, it's a whole Panchikaranam is coming out of this. It is not science. Science is accidental or incidental coincidence or some parallel I am trying to show. Anyway, today they go to Mars. You know what they do? First experiment they do is they check the outer space. Akasha, first they have to check the Akasha. They do studies on the outer space and see is it conducive for anything. Because they want to go to Purushaha only. This is exactly the model NASA is wanting. So what do they do? First they explore the outer space. If outer space is conducive, and how do they explore the outer space? The existence of the outer space first they check. Then they check what gases are there. That is the next Akashat Vayuhu. So that's what they check. What kind of gases? Is there oxygen? Is there this? Is there that? All that they check. So Akashat Vayuhu. If that is there, then they know that Agni will be there. Then water. Then they check for water. Is there a water possible? Is water possible? Water is possible only with Agni. So Agni he Vayuhu Apaha. Then water is there. They know that earth is. Otherwise the earth is not productive enough. It's a combination of, it is and. Actually it is not this created that. So I will take it to the next. So our conception is different. Our conception is, there are 5 elements. This Brahman, which is Avyakta, right? Once it decided, let's create a universe out of itself. See, if you want to create anything, what you need is what is called Nimitta Karana and Upadhana Karana. Nimitta is a doer or an instrument or intelligent cause. The word that I can use is intelligent cause. Upadana is a material cause. See, if you want to do a table, you need first raw material called wood. You also need a know-how in the form of a carpenter. If you have carpenter but not wood, table will not come. If you have wood but no carpenter also, table will not come. So if you have to create something, you need upadana and nimitta. If you want to make a pot, need a potterer and clay and other instruments. It's an intelligent cause and there is a material cause. Brahman is the only one which is both the intelligent cause and material cause. I mean, our ancestors, their sense of logic is so good. Suppose if you don't say that, if you say Brahman also found an intelligent cause and a material cause, then we'll ask who created that intelligent cause. And who created the material? Then you will point to somebody. Then I'll ask who created it. It will become ad infinitum now. They understood, logically they came to a conclusion, a starting point is one which creates everything. It's a simple logic. And Mundaka Upanishad gives a beautiful answer also to that. In Mundaka Upanishad it says, Yatha Urna Bihi, that is one shloka. It says, just like a spider, spider becomes both the Upadana Karana and Nimitta Karana, apparently. Spider generates its own offsprings and eats its own, everything is generated out of itself. So Mundaka Upanishad gives that example. So the process, so the Brahman said, let me now step out. Out of it created. So it created the 5 elements. First it created Vayu, Akasha. Akasha is the subtlest. Subtlest of all is Akasha. Because you cannot see Akasha. I mean, you can only, space has to be felt. In common parlance, people say, I could not find my space, so I left the company. Don't we use a word like that? So space is not physical. Space is a feeling. It is a very subtle idea. Please give me my space means you let me, I don't know how to explain it. Understand, space is a very subtle concept. So it created the most subtle concept, and out of which it also created an enabling feature called Shabda. If there is no space, Shabda will not be possible. So it brought Shabda into the domain. Then what it did was, the second element will fold the first element also. That is the idea. So Vayu requires space first. Gas, you measure in meter cube, no? Gas is always function of space and sparsha. You can feel it. You can feel it, touch it, whatever. Gas is the first indication of your ability to recognize. So from subtle it has become a little bit gross now. So Vayu is sparsha. Vayu has the property of sparsha and shabda. Both the properties are there in Vayu. That's how it created the second element. Then it created the third element called Agnihi, which has first time the shape you can see only in a flame. In a gas you cannot see a shape. In an Akasha you can't see a shape. So the third dimension is added through Agni, which is Rupam. So Agni has Rupam, Agni has Sparsham, Agni has Shabdam also. If you want, try out all that. You can touch Agni and then put Barnal after that. So you can feel. And it has shape, it has sound, everything is there. So it folded into it that 2-3 elements and became a little more grosser. That's how this Brahman started manifesting itself. Okay? Then came water. Water has all the 4. It added rasa into the remaining 3. So it brought Rupa, Sparsha, Shabda and added rasa also to it. The notion of taste comes only in a liquid thing. Because gas you can only smell and feel. You cannot taste. If you want rasa, it has to be a padartha which is minimum. So it is all superset. If you want to taste, you should be below, cannot be above. So it can be a solid or it can be a liquid. It can be Prithvi or it can be, understand the logic, that's how it is going. So it created a 4th element through which it added rasa over and above all the other 3, which is Rupa, Sparsha and Shabda. Then it added the last element called Prithvi, which brings Gandha. The smell is very unique to so in a gas, if you say smell is coming, there is particle there. The smell is the particle, it is not the gas. Suppose you say, hydrogen sulfide is smelling, you said gas does not have. No, there is a particle which gives smell. The purity of the gas has no smell. It is a particle which induces all those properties, which is actually Prithvi. That is the idea. So it added all these, and then it said, I will use these 5 elementals and create this wonderful world of 6 trillion. You name anything, it is created with these 5 only. You name anything in this world, is a function of these 5 Pancha Bhutas. The Panchikarana is this. This is the process by which the great Lord descended into reality. It said, there is a step in which I will come. I will first create, I am so subtle, I will become grosser and grosser so that I become visible with its own constraints of Nama, Rupa and all that kind of a thing. So with absolute non-entity, it became an Akasha which is very subtle. Then it created more and more and more of that, and then created this universe. With these 5 basic elements, science cannot create, there is no 6th element science has. Let them do whatever research they want to do. Let them come with anything. What they have done is they have used these 5. The question is, who gave these 5? Where did it come from? Scientists cannot create anything new. What he created is a combination of these 5 in some ways and bring something out of that. So the Lord descended and manifested itself as an enabling feature in this universe, and then with that it created us also. This Vyakti, so out of these you create Oshadi, Vanaspati, that's why there are Anna, Purusha, all those are coming. Oshati, Vanaspati, all those are all coming out of these 5 great elements. That is why in this country, the vast majority of the people believe in consigning this body back to the flames, and because why? Because the Pancha Bhutas must go back to their natural state. Put it back. So the rasa will go, the gandha will go, all that will go back to the resident state. That is the Tattpariya of consigning to the flames this mortal body of somebody. Most of us do, some of them do. I mean, the other process also does it. That may be a slow process. I think all of them have that inherently behind this logic, that it is, this Deha is a product of the Prakriti. The Purusha came and then sat there. When the Purusha went out, the Prakriti must be given to the Mahaprakriti. This is the Mahaprakriti into which it has to be given, returned back. So the whole creation is orchestrated with these 5 basic elements. Shruti starts by saying that. Then it went one step, which we saw, previous slide I am going. It went one step and said that Annat Purusha. So it now connected you also to the creation through food. It said that not only we created this other entities, this great entity called human being is also created through this cycle only. The next stage in the cycle is Oshadi Bhyo Annam Annat Purusha. Now there are many ways to actually interpret it. If you take a scientific way of interpreting, it is very simple. The food that you eat, if you don't eat food, you will have no vitality for the procreation process. Simple. Science says that anyway. If you don't eat food, you cannot procreate. So that is, science has understood that much. That you should have nourishes food, you cannot be malnourished and so on. So that is one way to understand. But our understanding of Annat Purusha, while the final process of procreation is how through the process happens, but how this journey happens is a very complex and a very deep thought out process which is explained. So it is Annat. In fact, that's why it says Tasmat Annarasamaya. This every Vyaktitva with its where you see the expression of the Pancha Bhutas. The Purusha is there, but the Pancha Bhutas are there. The Pancha Bhutas are nothing but Rasamaya, Anna Rasamaya. There is a Maya Pratyaya and there is Anna Rasa. So it is nothing but the essence of food. That's what it is saying. It is nothing but distilled high quality essence of food is this human being. Like that it is saying. So it uses that bridge to actually dissect every individual into 5 koshas, which we will see in the second Anuvaka anyway. This Anuvaka we will have to continue and finish it a little bit. We will stop here, it is already 7. So what we will do is, this Annat Purusha has 2-3 ways of understanding. Because in Chandogya Upanishad, it says how the soul which left a particular Sthula Sharira How did it find its expression and come back? Through the food. It came through the food. The soul which went out, actually after it finished it all its good karmas, it has to come back. Chandogya Upanishad explains how it comes. So that also is connected to this. So I will quote all that from Chandogya. Next week when we meet, we will see how it is all connected. So it's not an accidental kind of an activity or it's an enjoyment. No, we have a very deep understanding of this Annat Purusha. It's a very deep process by which the soul finds its own expression and finally comes and deposits and then becomes a Purusha. Purusha meaning a human being, not a masculine. It doesn't mean that. It means a living being. So that is what it is. We will continue it in the next class.